Hi Guardians! It's been a little bit since I've checked in with you, so I want to make a quick video to tell you some things as we round into, it's almost midterm, believe it or not, for the quarter. And I wanted to start with, I feel your pain. I have been home with my two little ones who are also doing remote learning now, and it's been a challenge. It's been very difficult. So from the parent perspective, because I do have two students in the Harlem district at the elementary level, my personal challenges this week, besides the obvious, have just been, I just don't really know exactly what they need to get done every day. And did they do it? And did they do it well? And, you know, it's as easy as me just writing an email to their teacher to check in. And they've been so great about responding back to me right away on things that, you know, hey, maybe they should redo that or check for this progress. So that's been really great. But I know you guys have 4 teachers to navigate through. So one thing I wanted to remind you of for Algebra 2 as a way for you to kind of monitor how your student is progressing for Algebra 2 is to use their tracker. So one thing that we need to make sure we're doing is making sure that, my face is in the way, making sure that our students are using the tracker by putting X's when they finish something. So what I would do is if, you know, my child has proven themselves to be less than trustworthy as far as getting work done in a timely manner. It's a nice way of saying it, right? I would say, hey, pull up your tracker. Now, you can't share the tracker with anyone outside of Harlem, so what I did is I just made my son be a student in my class. So this is his tracker, but he would pull it up on his Chromebook, and I would check that everything is marked off for the particular day that I'm talking about. You know, so on Tuesday I'd go here and I'd say, hey, Logan, you didn't do this slide yet. Now, if my child has proven themselves untrustworthy from the frame of saying they did things, putting an X down, and actually they didn't complete them, remember these are all hyperlinks. So you can say, I don't know that I believe you. Now, like for here, the worksheet, that's going to be something in their packet, or the notes, that's something in their packet. So definitely check for those. But this is all based on how, you know what your child's been doing over the last 12, 13 weeks of school. If they've done everything well, you know, don't harp on them too much. If they have not been successful as you all want, harp on them a little more, I guess. I know it feels very elementary to check on them this way, but as a parent over the last week of trying to figure out what the heck has been going on, I wish I had something like this for my kids, but you know, it's a little difficult with the elementary ones. And I realize you guys have 4 different teachers to worry about. So of course, if there's ever a question, you know, I want to check in how my son and daughter is doing this week, just email us or send a message to Google Chat. We'll get right back to you. All right. So some other things I wanted to talk about. This is new. We didn't do this last quarter, and I kind of wish we had. So we're going to be closing windows for certain parts of the gradebook. So week 11 was the first week in this quarter. We entered all of the assignments from that week, and it ended on November 22nd. So that was the Sunday where I entered grades. That's called week 11, and these are the assignments. We are no longer going to accept late work. After this Sunday, 9 o'clock, we're going to shut down the window to accept week 11 work, and we're going to continually do this 1 week at a time. We originally had this never-ending due date, which really became a problem for some kids because they just kept pushing Algebra 2 off and off and off. And then all of a sudden we were 7, 8, 9 weeks into the semester, and they hadn't even finished week 1 or 2. So we're not going to have that happen anymore. So I just want to make you guys aware that we are no longer going to accept week 11 work after Sunday at 9 in the morning. All right. If you have a struggling student, one of the best ways that you can encourage them to be successful, besides the obvious things we've already talked about, let's try staying on the meets the whole block. You know, our meets go for about anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes at the beginning of the block. And then we generally let the children decide, you know, you can either go and work independently here, or you can stay and ask questions, ask more examples. We've recently just point blank asked a child like, hey, I need you to stay on the meets because I see you're struggling on something, which is a little awkward to do. And we've also recently pulled kids out into a breakout room for like tutoring. But I would say if your child is having a difficult time concentrating and staying engaged for the rest of the block, I would say tell them to stay on the meets. They can turn off their camera and mic until they need help, but just to actively stay on the meets. That would be great. Here's what we notice, and I'll talk about this in an upcoming slide here, but in Lightspeed, that's a program where we can watch what happens on their Chromebook browsers. The meet ends, and so does your child. I'm not saying your child, some children. They sign off. They're done. They do not complete the next 60 minutes of work. And this is why we're getting behind. Or what we've also seen in Lightspeed, we've seen kids who go work on another class while they're supposed to be working on Algebra 2. So that brings me to my next point here. You are supposed to be, not you, the child is supposed to be treating this like a school day. So during second block Algebra 2, they are working on Algebra 2 from 11:05 to 12:30. And that is it. Now, if they finish early, that's great. That's a good problem to have. Unfortunately, that's not the problem we're seeing. Kids who finish early are very independent-minded, and they know what to do with their extra time. The children who are struggling are not engaging enough to finish early, would be my thought. Okay, so very important, and it's just, it feels like a no-brainer to an adult, but they're kids. They don't get it. Algebra 2, you have to stay and work on Algebra 2 the whole time. Some of them choose to leave the meets like we talked about, but we leave it open. They can come back and ask questions. I think we need to further encourage some of our students just to stay in the meets the whole time. That's all we're doing, is we're helping and answering questions and working with kids the whole time. So it's not like they're crashing a party or anything. They get to come back and ask questions. I don't know if they're shy or what, but I would encourage your student, if they're struggling at any point, to stay on the meets. Third block, by the way, they're from 12:35 to 2 o'clock. All right, we talked about Lightspeed already. If they have a Harlem Chromebook, please encourage them to use it. I can only see what they're doing during our hour. So, when I look on Lightspeed during second hour, they're supposed to be doing Algebra 2 because that's their class, and I see they're working on literature. Well, that's two issues. First of all, they're not working on Algebra 2. Second of all, their literature teacher can't help them because they can't see what the child is doing on literature. So they need to really focus on, okay, if it's a school day hour, I'm working on first hour, second hour, third hour, fourth hour. Oh, and that was the end of my presentation. All right. So a couple of changes. We talked about the due dates shutting off for week 11. Week 11 will no longer be, you can't make up anything from week 11 after Sunday at 9 o'clock this week. And then next week we'll have another rollout where something similar happens, okay? I will give you guys a heads up on that. The kids have already known about this for a couple of days now. I just want to give all you parents a heads up. Of course, email, message, anytime. Phone calls aren't really working too well here from home. We can have a Google Meet if you needed to have what, essentially was a phone call. That's fine. Just we need to schedule that if that's what you need. So please do contact, and email is the easiest and best way. Google Chat has been working really great with us to the children, or children to us, because it's essentially text messaging through the Google Gmail. Which obviously they like to text message better rather than speak to a human. So, all right, we're going to make it. Week 14 is next. Good luck, everybody.